Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for entertaining me to make my contribution in this debate on the motion to extend the period of the emergency, state of emergency, as proposed by its mover, in accordance with the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. Madam Speaker, the last contributor from the other side found himself in a bit of an exchange with the Attorney General in respect of the matter of the Commissioner of Prisons and another, Sasha C. Prasad and others, which was a judgment from the Privy Council, our highest court, was delivered, I think, only today. And it really demonstrated how a human being could be so bereft of the concept of shamefulness. Because the member who just spoke, for those who did not know and listened to him, would have come away with the impression that this government acted in a manner that the Privy Council in this judgment found to be abhorrent and to condemn. Madam Speaker, that case arose back in 2015, before we came to government. The individual, Sasha C. Prasad, was committed to what should have been a community residence in accordance with the children's law, and the action flowed from that. The judicial review proceedings which went through the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Privy Council, which gave its judgment today in this matter, began before we came to government. Before. So the facts and the action began before. Madam Speaker, would you believe the member for Chaguanas told us a while ago that this government, this PNM government, had a major judgment against it by the Privy Council today. That is the essence, Madam Speaker, of shamelessness. So I want the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago to reflect upon this and to understand why they appear the way they do, why we cannot trust them, why they do not deserve public trust. Madam Speaker, very, very quickly, as I said, the facts began in 2014. On May the 18th, 2015, the Children's Act came into operation. On the 30th of June and the 29th of July, the Chief Magistrate made the order of these, Sasha and others, to the community residences. And you would have heard the Attorney General speak many times about the abhorrent behavior of our colleagues on the other side, led by two former members of Parliament, a former Attorney General, Anand Ramlogan, who acted in this matter, Madam Speaker, and brought an action against the government when we were in power for the government's failure to put these community residences for the youngsters in place before the law was proclaimed. So they went ahead and made the law and proclaimed the law without the administrative, without the residences in place, and that is what gave rise to this action. And as I conclude on that, hear what the Privy Council had to say very quickly. The question raised by this ground is whether there has been a violation of the appellant's rights to the protection of the law guaranteed by Section 4B of the Constitution. I'm quoting the Privy Council. The appellant's case on this issue is based on both act and omission on the part of the executive, meaning the Kamla Prasad Bisesa and Anand Ramlogan executive. In short, I'm quoting again, in short, the executive brought into operation the legislative protections for children in sections 54(1) and 61 and subsection 5 of the Children Act without having first made provision for the community residences as required by these legislative provisions. It was contended that the executive had acted arbitrarily, and the court therefore went on to condemn it. The member for Chaguanas West today, East, comes here to tell the public shamelessly that that was, if you like, and permit me a metaphor, an indictment against this government. How shameless could they be? But, Madam Speaker, we are here today to talk about the extension of the state of emergency. A member from that side, a member from the other side told us correctly that we are in a war, and I think we all know that. And the Prime Minister and the team of professionals from the health sector has from day one communicated with the people of Trinidad and Tobago as to all of the developments in relation to this war, this threat that they say has taken so far about 3 million human lives around the globe, pandemic as it is. But, Madam Speaker, I heard a report only 24 hours ago on the BBC that they're estimating, the World Health Organization is perhaps contemplating that that figure could be 50% of the reality in terms of human deaths in the world. But from day one, with the support of the government, the health team had been at work communicating with the people. And as Her Excellency pointed out in her contribution to the National Day of Prayer yesterday, another very good idea on the part of the Prime Minister. And the citizens are reporting widely that they thoroughly enjoyed it and were refreshed by the communication with our respective gods. For those who see life and have a life view that is different. And as Archbishop Gordon of the Roman Catholic Church tells us, a lot that we are experiencing today has to do with the conduct of some of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. It is that conduct that has contributed, no doubt, to the very severe and widespread continuation, burgeoning challenge of this virus. I had heard recently the business community, the religious community, and ordinary grassroots people being interviewed by the media and on social media, and some from my own constituency who took the trouble to call me as Member of Parliament. And it is the people who were calling for stricter measures to deal with the behavior referred to. That is what led to the imposition of the state of emergency, which in my disagreement with the member for Orapooch East, he said that this one is different because this is not about public order. I, in fact, disagree with him. This is about public order. The measures of a state of emergency are designed to suppress public gatherings and to suppress public movement. It is all about public order, not finding roots in any insurgency or political threat, but the threat of the virus, insidious, silent, and deadly as it is, like the UNC. And Madam Speaker, when I heard the member for Siparia earlier today in another debate on another motion, which we could have done both together, you know, but so insidious they are, they insisted we must do them separately. When I heard the member for Siparia say she cannot understand, the member cannot understand why a state of emergency every 3-year old in this country. And one of my constituents, a close friend, called me after she made that statement and said, but what is the member for Siparia speaking about? And I answered her because she's a citizen and entitled to some elucidation. I told her she is the head of La La Land. She leads it. And that is a shortened version of Krishna Lala. Madam Speaker, so we are here today to extend this. Only yesterday, 573 new cases, 10 deaths. We heard today 15 deaths, a very serious state of affairs. The highest we've had so far, 21 deaths. A total of about 300 and I would think now 90 deaths, if the 15 figure I heard in this house today from the last 24 hours is correct. So, Madam Speaker, this is a serious situation, and this is a serious government, and we are using a serious constitution to respond to that serious situation and problem. The member for Oropouche East raised the question of border security, and I'm happy that the Attorney General alluded to aspects of it. Mention was made of the first identification in Trinidad and Tobago of the Brazilian strain, which they say is more virulent than the regular COVID-19 strain, so to speak. And yes, I said publicly that it was identified in an illegal immigrant only because it's the truth. But that does not mean that his was the first or only case in Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore it does not and could not mean that he would have brought it in illegally through our border. He may have contracted it from a Trinidadian who didn't go anywhere, who may have contracted it from someone else. It is in India now, as a matter of fact, to meet with the Indian strain. So, Madam Speaker, I don't know where they get their logic, but I trust that is the way of La La Land. I trust so. The member for Oropouche East as well spoke about the question of detention and told us, and the Attorney General dealt with it, so I wouldn't waste time talking about what the member for Chaguanas East had to say on the subject, because he has gone to court several times, he and another member of parliament in the Senate in this parliament, challenging the COVID regulations, challenging the public health ordinance and its authenticity and its applicability, its constitutionality, and they have lost and lost and lost and lost again. The only thing left for him to do is to come and say, we lost. As he did earlier today in the matter with Sasha C. Prasad. Madam Speaker. But the member for Oropouche East mentioned this thing about detention and said, since this state of emergency is generated from the COVID-19 disease or virus, we really shouldn't be detaining anyone. And this is the worst time to detain anyone. In fact, you don't want to detain anyone. So he said, you must leave them, let them run around. So you find a vessel coming in, as he said, no sanitizer, no nothing, no regulation from the health authority, no protocols. They show up on a beach somewhere in Icacos, or anywhere else for that matter, and you don't detain them. You just let them run rampant in the society. That is the recommendation of the UNC. And when we met in a day of prayer yesterday, their leader, the leader of La La Land, tells us that prayer don't help with COVID. At a time when we call on our nurses, our doctors, the Prime Minister who leads this fight, the ambulance drivers, all of the people involved, even members of the Defense Force. Today as we speak, they have a doctor, 4 nurses, 15 medics inside of the Couva Field Hospital, 2 of which we brought here, one at Couva, one at gene pair complex in this fight. And people have to go deep within themselves to call on our gods. Some people say it's only prayer to help us. The member for Separia tells us, right behind the fact that sunlight good for COVID, and keep the bars open, and she will build a dome, tells us that we mustn't have faith in God, we must have faith in rum. Because prayers can't help us. But that is the way the truth works and God works. It reveals who are the real fighters and soldiers and who are the real devils in the society. Madam Speaker, all we do is motivate and encourage and support our law enforcement personnel, because with the state of emergency, with the army assuming emergency powers, we have been asking them, and the way we see it in the Ministry of National Security, Madam Speaker, is that this national security service that we offer is our contribution to the fight against COVID by enforcing the law to suppress public gathering and public movement. Because as the Prime Minister made plain today, and it is quite obvious, the virus needs our being close to each other to leap from one human being through the eyes, the mouth of another, the nose of another. So our contribution, the municipal police, the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, every one of them have become frontline in this fight against COVID-19. In this state of emergency environment, equipped with PPE as they must where necessary in order to suppress public gatherings and public movement. Some of the rights under the Constitution that are of necessity to be infringed in this fight, hence the reason for the state of emergency. And I heard the member for Oropouche East shamelessly, second in command of La La Land, waiting to take over. In fact, the de facto leader of La La Land, telling us a while ago in this debate that he don't have to come here today to condemn no vaccine, but he stands on record as having already so done. He told this country, and it is on the public record, and he questioned the efficacy of the Sinopharm vaccine, already on record. Now telling us shamelessly today, he don't have to do it. You do it already. And similarly, the member for Separia told us recently that we should join with the UNC, come together to fight this virus. First of all, I, Fitzgerald, and I'm not talking for anybody else, I don't trust them at all. Because I know them for a long time. I know their record, Madam Speaker. They are not worthy of the T in the word trust. And the only T that is relevant for me is the one at the end of the word cannot. Cannot trust them. But I want the member for Separia to know the business community who called for the state of emergency, the young people of Trinidad and Tobago, the religious communities, the ordinary man in the street, the members of the protective services, the members of the medical services led by Dr. Parasram and Dr. Hinds and Dr. That very powerful lady who joins them, Dr. Trotman. She speaks with authority and knowledge of her business and guides us to good sense day by day, week by week. We are all already united, member for Separia. The only people on the outside of this is the United National Congress. They have gone to court on this matter to block the public health ordinance and to block the regulations, including that one from Shoguanas East who spoke here earlier. I'm sorry, Madam Speaker. They have done that.
The member from Shoguanas West.
The honourable member. It's hard to say, Madam Speaker, but I'll be guided.
Don't go there. Don't go there. All right, so just retract that and press on. The member from Shoguanas West.
But Madam Speaker, when I recall what happened today with this case that was decided by the Privy Council, I am troubled in my spirit. Madam Speaker, the member for Oropouche also told this country through this parliament that what is missing is proof that the rates will go down. And Madam Speaker, as was pointed out, and let me reiterate, it will take a little while before we see the effect of it. I just want to praise, as I conclude, the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service,
Member,
the
your
municipal...
time is now spent.